Hi friends, how are you all? So welcome to the next lecture on microeconomics. Let us continue with the discussion on producer behavior. In this session, let us discuss about supply. Okay. Actually, here we are introducing a new aspect in our discussion of the person of producer. Till now, what were we doing? We discussed how much a producer can produce or how much a producer should produce, right? We studied production function, cost, revenue and producer's equilibrium. All these factors help us understand how much a producer should produce in order to maximize profits, right? But there is another aspect which is important. Every producer is a human being, right? So naturally, how much ever the producer is producing, he or she should be willing to supply or sell it to the buyers. So this is where we enter the discussion of supply. Here we consider the willingness of the producer to give the goods to the consumer. So what is the meaning of supply? What is the meaning of supply? How did we define demand? Demand is the quantity of a good a producer is willing and able to, means a consumer is willing and able to buy at a given price during a given period of time. Here there is no thing like able to produce, though we need to consider how much the producer can produce. However, in the definition we say it is the quantity of a good producer is willing to supply at given price during given period of time. Supply of the commodity is the quantity of the good the producer is willing to supply at given price during a given period of time. Or supply or sell. Okay, you can write sell as well. Sell at given price during a given period of time. This is the definition of supply. Similar to demand, there are many factors which affect supply. Okay. First of all, tell me what is the aim of the producer, aim of the supplier when he or she is supplying good in the market. Definitely to earn profit, right? So the producer will supply in such a manner so as to maximize his profit, right? So what will be the factors of defining supply? First and foremost will be the price of the good. See, if the price of the good is high, definitely there will be possibility or the producer will think it profitable to produce the good, right? Because the possibilities to earn profits are more. So, price of the good will be the first and foremost factor the producer will consider while deciding on how much to supply. Okay. Let's say we know the cost and we know the revenue. If the revenue is only a minute portion above cost, the producer will not have an inclination to supply more. However, if the revenue is a bit more a higher than cost, definitely the producer will supply more. What determines revenue? Price of the good. So the producer will base his decision on how much to supply, primarily on the price of the good. Then we have the next factor as price of related goods. Here we don't consider complementary goods. Why? It is not necessary for the producer to know if the given good is consumed together with another good. There is nothing that affects, or this factor doesn't affect the profit of the producer in any manner. So the producer will only consider one type of good, which is substitute good. Why? Tea and coffee, substitute goods, right? If the price of tea is increasing, the people will demand or more of coffee. However, consider the producer. If the price of tea is increasing, people who are producing coffee will think it better to produce tea, right? Because the profits earning capability of tea has gone up. So what will happen? Producers who were once producing coffee will switch over to tea, and the supply of tea will increase. Suppose we are considering the supply of coffee. The supply of coffee will go down. Why? Because the price of the substitute good has gone up, so supply of the given good will go down. The supply of a good is inversely related to price of substitute good. Supply of a good is inversely related to price of substitute good. Then, what will be the third factor? Price of input. Put or cost. We know this concept, right? Land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. All these together make up cost. All these are the inputs used by the producer in production. So the price of these inputs will be the cost, and profit equals revenue minus cost. Given revenue, we have given the revenue, we know the price and the quantity. However, to increase profit, the producer will have to minimize cost. Say the cost of the good has gone up. So the producer's ability to make profit will go down, because no other factors changing, only the price of inputs have gone up. So what will happen? The producer will reduce production because the profit making, the prospects of earning profit have gone down. So price of an input, if the price goes up, supply goes down. Okay. Here also, if the price of a good is going up, supply will go up. Why? Because the prospects of earning profit will go up. Here, if this factor goes up, supply goes down. Okay, then we come to government policy. See, the government can act in two ways to a producer. If it is a consumer, the government can charge tax from them. However, for a producer, two ways. Either the government can charge indirect tax like customs. Customs is a tax on production. Either the government can charge customs duty, or the government can promote the production of a good by offering subsidies. So if there is subsidy, definitely the cost of production will go down. So the producer will be willing to supply more. But if customs duty is high, the government is levying more tax, then the prospects of earning profits will go down and supply will go down. So if there is high tax, supply will be less. If there is high subsidies, production will be more. Then the final factor is state of technology. Okay, How does it affect? See, let's take an example of computers. The technology in computers is evolving very fast, right? Day by day, we are changing some changes in technology. If you consider a period of 2 years, the technology changes can be a bit important, significant. So, if the producer is dealing or supplying in computer-related items, definitely the possibility is high that the producer may have to update his or her technology frequently. So what will happen? The frequent upgradation or updation will add to the capital expenditure of the producer, right? So naturally they will think twice before supplying high quantity. So if the technology is continuously updating, the producers will supply a given moderate quantity. Now, if the producer is using advanced technology and the technological change is stable, they will supply more because advanced technology means low cost. However, if the producer is producing an obsolete technology, definitely they will produce only less. So these are the factors affecting supply. Next, similar to demand, we have a law of supply. Okay, law. See, if demand is cost price is high, demand will be low. Inverse relationship between demand and price as per law of demand. If price is high, supply will be high. Why? Because the prospects of earning profits are more. So, according to the law of supply, there is direct relationship between price and quantity supplied of a good, other things remaining constant. Other things unchanged. There is one word for this, right? All other factors unchanged or ceteris paribus. Okay, ceteris paribus, that is, if all the other factors influencing supply are held constant, there is a definite direct relationship between quantity supplied and price. Other things remaining constant, there is a direct relationship between the price of a good and the quantity supplied of it. That is, price of a good is directly related, means supply of a good is directly related to the price. Ceteris paribus. So this is what the law of supply says. Now, we have a function or supply function of supply. What is this? This is a functional relationship between quantity supplied and all the factors Px, price of the good, price of substitute, cost, government policy and technological change. So it's a functional relationship between the quantity supplied and factors affecting supply. According to the law of supply, Q is equal to F of Px, ceteris paribus. Okay, other things remaining constant, quantity is equal to a function of price. Now, similar to demand, we also have curve. Supply curve. See, the demand curve will be downward sloping because inverse relationship between price and demand. Supply curve should be upward sloping because direct relationship between price and supply. Right? X, O and Y, output or supply, price. Okay, it will be upward sloping. Yes. The supply curve will be upward sloping due to the law of supply. There is direct relationship between price and quantity supply. What are the reasons for the upward slope of the curve? First one is marginal productivity theory. This theory states that as the supplier goes on producing more and more, the marginal productivity of each factor or total factor will go on diminishing. So naturally, what this theory implies is as the producer is producing more and more, the marginal cost will increase. Okay, so in order to earn profit, the producer will be willing to supply only at high price in order to cover cost. So this is the first reason. The second reason is profit maximization goal. This is the thing, because the producer needs to maximize his profit and he will be able to do that only if price goes up. These are the two reasons which are suggested for the upward slope of supply curve. Now, movement versus shift. See, change in quantity supply can happen because of two reasons. Change in the price or change in other factors. Right. So if the price increases from P1 to say P2, definitely the quantity will increase from Q1 to Q2. Okay. This happens because supplier moves upward along the same demand curve because of a rise in price. This is called expansion of supply. Okay. On the contrary, if from P2 to P1, the price decreases from P2 to P1, supply will move downwards along the same supply curve. So that will be contraction of supply. Now suppose any other factors change. So nuke S1 and let's say S2. Now, for the same price P1, okay, because of change in some other factor, if the producer is willing to supply Q3 amount of the good, then the phenomena is called increase in supply. Here, the producer moves from a supply curve to a new supply curve to the right. This is called increase in supply. On the contrary, if the quantity supply decreases, however, without any change in price, due to some change in other factors, this is called decrease in supply. For the same price, no change in price, P1 itself. However, now the producer is not willing to supply anything in the figure here. The supplier has moved to 0 point in S2. S2, S1 increase. S2, S2 is decrease. This is called increase and decrease in supply. Now, there is another concept called market supply. Okay. In the market, there will be many suppliers. Let's say there are three suppliers. S1, S supply curve of 1, S2 and S3. There are three suppliers. If at P1, okay, the quantity supplied in the market will include this plus this plus this, right? Because three producers are supplying so simultaneously, so therefore the aggregate will be the quantity supplied in the market. So market supply curve will be a bit more flatter, MS. It will be a horizontal summation of individual supply curves of all producers in the market. That's all. This is about market supply. This is all about market supply and derivation of market supply curve. So first we learn what is supply, the quantity supply the producer is willing to sell in the market, what are the factors affecting supply, price of a good, price of related goods, price of inputs, government policy and state of technology. Then we studied the law of supply, which states there is a direct relationship between price of a good and the quantity supplied, ceteris paribus. Then we saw the supply curve, which is an upward sloping due to the reasons of marginal productivity theory and goal maximization, means profit maximization goal. Then we studied movement along supply curve and shift of supply curve. Movement means the producer moves to a new point in the same supply curve. If the producer moves upwards, it is expansion of supply. If the producer moves downwards, it is contraction of supply. If the producer moves to a new supply curve in the right, it is called shift of a supply curve or increase in supply. If the producer moves towards left, if producer is supplying lesser quantity for the same price, then it is decrease in supply or leftward shift of supply curve. Then we studied market supply, which is market supply curve is the horizontal summation of all individual supply curves. So this is the end of the session. Okay, we have one more topic to cover which we will do in the next session in producer behavior. After that we will move to a culmination of demand and supply. So I hope you enjoyed the video and let's see in the next session. So thank you, bye bye.